in the first webinar, we looked at various AI tools. So we covered ChatGPT, Claude, Gemini, Perplexity, DeepSeek, and Gamma. And this week, I'm just going to go through how I would use some of those apps to create a market presentation, for a visually engaging, shall we say, market presentation, and we'll do that about La Défense, the office, the big office area just outside Paris. So I guess if I'd have asked AI what should be the order of these webinars, it would have said do this one second rather than third, but I didn't. We did it the old-fashioned way, so maybe the presentations are slightly out of order. Anyway, let me share my screen and we'll get going. So to do this, I'm going to use Google Gemini Deep Research to research the data I need. I'm also going to use Perplexity to do the same thing. So I'll launch a prompt in research in both Gemini and Perplexity. I have subscriptions to both, but if you don't worry. I think Perplexity, you have the capacity to do a certain number of free researches. If you just have you don't need both. It's just sometimes they give slightly different insights, so it can be useful to run both. In this case, where the sources of information are fairly clear, the responses will be pretty similar. So it's not actually necessary. It's just interesting. And I'm then going to put the responses in Claude and get it to put that together and give me the outline of the presentation. And then I'm going to take the outline that Claude gives me and put it into Gamma to create my visually engaging presentation. Now, again, the Claude phase isn't really necessary. If you don't have Claude and you have just Gemini, just Perplexity, you can get them to do that stage as well. I just prefer, as I mentioned in the first webinar, Claude is my go-to. I find its user interface the best. I find it easiest to work with, so that's why I use Claude. So we here is, let me put that up. Here is the prompt I'm going to put into Gemini Deep Research. I'm going to use the same prompt for both Gemini and Claude. So give me a report on the office letting market in La Défense as at Q4 2024. Use both French and English sources. Make sure you include the following key statistics. Take up, I've reminded it what it is in French in case it goes off and doesn't research it properly. Split between new and older space. Vacancy, prime and average rental levels split between new and older space. For take up, try and source the figure for the whole of 24 and how this compares historically, as well as the latest Q4 figures. Also look at future projects. Prioritize information from CBRE, JLL, BNP, Cushman Wakefield, Knight Frank, Savills, and CoStar. I put that in because it might just find newspaper articles from the FT or Les Echos in France, whatever. And as we all know, mainstream journalists, when they're talking about real estate, don't necessarily get the right end of the stick, shall we say. So I prefer to instruct it to prioritize the sources that I know will have the right information. So I will press launch, and it works out what I'm asking. It says just a second, and then it gives me a research plan of what it's going to do, and I can read through that. And if I don't like it, I can ask it to change something, but that all looks okay to me. So I just say start research. Now, normally that's going to take 20 minutes or so. So to use a phrase people that grew up in Britain in the 80s, etc., will know, here's one I prepared earlier. So here is, I've fed in the same prompt, and here's my reports. It's given me quite a complete report, so executive summary, Greater Paris office region market context, then it's gone into the take-up and so on, vacancy rates, rental levels, so on. It's basically delivered what I've asked it to, historic trends analysis. And yeah, it's given me this table, which I wasn't very happy with. I thought it could have done better in finding some of this data. So I've gone back to it and say look for data to complete the spaces marked data potentially available, and then here's an updated version. It hasn't actually done it particularly well, but that's okay, where it's added in some of the figures that were missing for 2022 and 23, I think. So what I can do is come up here and click on export to docs, and it will then save this report in my Google Docs. I've done the same thing here in Perplexity. I've given it the same prompt, launched the same search. I won't show you how I did it. It's basically the same thing, and again, it takes a little while. So this is one I did earlier. Again, it gives me a pretty full report with its sources and so on. You can't export Perplexity in the same way to Google Docs. So, but you can copy it here. So I copied and pasted it into another doc. I then come over here into Claude. Now, one of the things I like about Claude is you can work in what is called projects. So it's fairly similar to ChatGPT's specialized GPTs, but I prefer this. So what each project is, it's a space where you can upload documents, and each chat within that project will have access to all the documents you've saved in it. So here I've put the output of the Gemini deep research, which I've just created, and here I've created a text document with Perplexity, and this is a CBRE report that I will talk about now. So what I did here, and I'll show you in this prompt, my friends at CBRE sent me a market study they've done with the latest stats on La Défense. It's in PDF. So what I've asked Claude to do is to transform the document into a downloadable document in Markdown format. Markdown format, it's a text format that large language models find easy to read. You could equally say text format. It's not really important. But why I wanted it to do this is because a lot of the the stats and so on that were in the CBRE report were explained in charts. And large language models can't always easily read charts. So I've asked it to take the source data and transform it into numeric tables, which the large language model will be able to read. So here we go. This is what it's done. It's taken each of the pie charts, line graphs, etc., and transform them into numeric tables, which the large language model will be able to read. As I mentioned in our first webinar, I like Claude. One of the reasons I like Claude is that it does this. It puts its output in a separate window to the right, which you can then copy, download, etc. I find that very useful. And here, when you're working in projects, you have an option to add the document you're creating to the current project, which is what I had done and why you saw it amongst the documents that I've created there. So we'll now go and create the outline of our presentation. So I've just said to it, give me a summary presentation of around 15 slides on the La Défense office market. If there's conflicting data, the document, La Défense office market letting, that's the CBRE document, takes precedent. In each slide, give the sources for the original raw data as cited in each report. So I wanted to take, for example, in the Gemini output, I wanted to cite the source cited in the Gemini document, and then make the slides visually interesting using charts rather than simple numeric tables. So Claude is actually capable of doing this by itself, and we'll have a look now at the output it gives. So Claude automatically generated this for me, and it's it's not bad. It's the content is quite good. It summarized the data quite well, but it's not the most visually compelling presentation you'll ever see. It's got but it's created a few charts from the data it has, etc., etc. So I think it's quite good for content, but maybe I'd give it probably 6 out of 10 for presentation. Unfortunately, what Claude does here is it creates it in as a TypeScript file, which is frankly a pain. So what I then asked it to do, if I want to access it, copy and paste things and so on, is to create it for me in HTML. So it's done the same thing here. In fact, I've asked it to create it in HTML, printable in A4 landscape, and it's created the same thing, but in HTML format, which I can then download like so, and just open it in my web browser. But as I said, I'd only give that 6 out of 10 visually. So what I've then done is said, I want to make a more visual version of this presentation using Gamma. Please provide a prompt as an MD artifact. So MD, as I already explained, that's markdown format, and artifact is the stupid name Claude uses to create this window on the right that I can paste into Gamma. That includes the following: the raw data used in the graphs, the text used in the slide, including citations, additional context for each slide from the information provided. So I then have this window on the right where Claude has created instructions and a slide-by-slide recipe book, if you like, for Gamma to then create a full presentation. Right, so let me now go into Gamma. So I will share Gamma, and we'll actually create it. I've got a couple that I've already created in case this takes too long, but I think it's actually interesting to see it create it from scratch. So I'm in Gamma. I will go create a new AI presentation, and I just want to paste in text. So I'm going back. I've copied the contents from Claude of its prompt, and I will just paste it into here. So there we go. That's the complete prompt pasted in. I click and I have the option whether I want to create a presentation, web page, document, or social media post. I will leave it as a presentation. Here, it gives me the option from your original context to either use that as the basis for an AI generation to condense it or preserve. I'm going to use preserve because I want all the information that I've put into it to be preserved in my presentation. I want the output language to be English UK, and I want 15 slides. So I then click continue. And I then have the option to choose various background themes for my presentation. I will just click on basic light. There we go. And you have the option to create your own custom templates and so on, but we'll just leave it with the standard ones. Now, and then I just click on generate, and it will start to do its work. So here we see it creating. So it will take maybe another 30 seconds or so to completely generate my presentation. And then I can go back in and change things and edit it according to my personal preference. So there we go. It has created my complete 15-slide presentation. It's given me some AI generated images of ladder fonts, which I can change if I want. I can get it, edit it with AI and change the prompt of what it's creating, but we'll leave that for the time being. So executive summary, key indicators. So if, for example, I find this slide a bit bland, I can come here and say, make this more visual, and it will go in and edit this slide. Yeah, it's not actually, it's not, that's maybe not the best choice. The bar chart was maybe better, but I can go back to the original, or I can say I forgot where it is. There's a change. Try a different layout. That's maybe better. Or I can go in and start a chat with the AI and give it specific instructions on a slide by slide basis of what I want to do. It's I find this pretty good. I find it particularly good when when you're combining it with another more powerful AI tool to create the prompt. Although I could have just uploaded the Google the Gemini output direct into here, and it would have produced something pretty similar. But I find creating giving it slide by slide instructions with exactly the information we want yields slightly better results.